Starting something for the first time can be terrifying. There is so much you don't know, you may not be good enough yet, and the question lingers, what happens if you fail? Well, don't worry, as here's 10 great cricketers who had rough starts to otherwise excellent international careers. Number 10, Jacques Kallis. Widely considered to be the greatest all-round cricketer of all time, Jacques Kallis is a legend of the game. But things didn't go smoothly for him at the beginning of his Test career. He scored 1 and didn't bowl a ball on his debut. He scored just 7 in his next Test and wouldn't play another one until a year later. Things improved slightly in his next 4 Tests as he scored a total of 110 runs and took 5 wickets. Still not that impressive as he was averaging just 14.75 with the bat. However, this would change in the Boxing Day Test of 1997 when his South African team were playing Australia in the MCG. Chasing an impossible 381 at the time, Kallis would be summoned to the crease at 88 for 2, needing to hold on for more than a day of play. He held the team together as wickets tumbled around him to reach his maiden ton just before being dismissed for 101. This would kickstart his Test career, scoring over 13,000 runs and taking nearly 300 wickets. Even a bad start couldn't deny one of cricket's GOATs. Number 9, Mitchell Johnson. It's hard to remember a time when Mitchell Johnson wasn't the most feared bowler on the planet. The Australian's pace and bounce was the stuff of legend, so it may be easy to assume he had the same effect when he started for Australia. This was definitely not the case judging by his ODI debut. It's December 2005 and Australia have set a big score of 331 for New Zealand to chase in Christchurch. Johnson would come into the attack as second change bowler, but was taken to the cleaners by Scott Styris and co. He would give up 64 runs, taking no wickets in his 9 overs, conceding 7 fours and a 6 that was literally hit out of the park as Australia lost that game. He improved his economy rate in his next 3 games but only had 1 wicket to show for it. Johnson's improvement, however, was incremental rather than immediate. He would still find himself in and out of the side as he struggled for consistency. Then came the 13-14 Ashes where he and his mustache terrorized the English. After that, he would become a force to be reckoned with in all 3 formats, taking 590 wickets at an average of just 26, including 15 5-wicket hauls. Number 8, MS Dhoni. One of the most popular cricketers of all time, MS Dhoni has had a very successful international career. He has scored over 17,000 runs, taken over 600 catches, and made nearly 200 stumpings in all formats. Not to mention captaining India to 3 major ICC trophies. But even the most optimistic of India fans wouldn't have envisioned this for him after watching his first 4 games. His debut against Bangladesh in Chattogram failed to inspire, getting run out on his first ball. He managed just 12 in the next game before getting caught at mid-wicket in a defeat to Bangladesh in Dhaka. He scored 7 not out in the final game of the series, which was not enough to quell the criticism that came his way for his unorthodox technique. He didn't help himself when in the next series he was dismissed for 3 in the first match against Pakistan. All this would be erased, however, as in the next game in Vizag, he would be promoted up the order to number 3. He took on the Pakistani attack, pummeling 15 fours and 4 sixes, scoring 148 of just 123 balls. He followed this by scoring 183 not out against Sri Lanka at the end of the year, and the superstar Dhoni was born. Number 7, Shane Warne. The king of spin, the Earl of Twirl, the Baron of Baked Beans. Shane Warne needs no introduction, but we gave him one anyway. But before he took the cricketing world by storm, he was made to look like just another ordinary spinner with a blonde mullet on his debut. It was January 3rd, 1992, and Warne would come up against a strong Indian batting order. Ravi Shastri and Sachin Tendulkar were in fine form, belting Warne all over the park. Although he picked up Shastri's wicket and showed a few promising glimpses, he was thoroughly humbled on his debut, finishing with 1 for 150 in 45 overs. His second match wasn't so much better, going wicketless and conceding 78. He wouldn't see the field again for Australia until they toured Sri Lanka 8 months later. In the first Test, he did pick up 3 for 11 after going wicketless in the first innings, but went wicketless again in the next game. Things were not looking all that great for Warne. That was until Boxing Day Test of 1992, where Warne would take 8 for 117 against the West Indies at Melbourne. He would then take 17 wickets in 3 matches against New Zealand in the next series. Next up was the Ashes in England, and we all know what happened there. Number 6, Sourav Ganguly. India's Sourav Ganguly is not on this list purely for his poor debut in ODIs. Yes, his debut in Australia against the West Indies was disappointing, scoring just 3 of 13 balls. However, it was the fallout of their tour of Australia that led to scrutiny on the future captain and him being dropped from the team for 4.5 years. Rumors circulated that Ganguly got the axe due to questions over his attitude, and claims were made that he was arrogant. It was also alleged that he refused to carry the drinks out to his teammates during a match. Ganguly denied these claims years later, but also hinted at some issues with his team manager at the time. During his exile, he piled on runs in domestic cricket and made himself almost impossible to be ignored. And on his inevitable return in India's tour of England, he scored 46 in his next ODI and scored centuries in back-to-back test matches to really announce his arrival. Controversies would never cease during Ganguly's career, but neither did his runs, and he amassed an excellent career scoring 38 centuries. Number 5. Rahul Dravid. We might be cheating by putting Rahul Dravid here, as he had a great start to his test career. He scored 95 and 84 in his first 2 test innings, and showed heaps of promise in that format. However, he first represented India in ODIs, and it was a different story for him altogether. In April 1996, his first 3 ODI innings read 3, 4, and 3 against Sri Lanka and Pakistan. Batting lower in the order, he reached double digits for the first time against South Africa, scoring 11, before making 22 not out against England. He finally scored 90 in his 10th ODI, which was against Pakistan, but with a career strike rate of just 64, he needed to get a century to justify his place in the team. He finally got his maiden ton in his 35th ODI in May 1997 against Pakistan in Chennai, but he wouldn't get another one for the rest of the year and not even the next. It didn't seem like white ball cricket was meant for India's Great Wall, but 1999 would change that as he scored 300s, 450s, averaging 46 and upped his strike rate to 76. Dravid would get over 10,000 ODI runs and is always listed as an Indian great, regardless of the format. Number 4. Matthew Hayden. ESPN Cricinfo's description of Matthew Hayden sums him up perfectly. Strength was Hayden's strength, both mental and physical. He required both to navigate a tough start to his Australian career. He made his debut in an ODI series against England in May 1993, scoring 29, 14 and 4. This was not enough to secure a place in the team, and he would have to wait another 6 months for his next opportunity. He scored 50 not out against New Zealand in his return to the team, but followed it up with scores of 5, 13, 20, 16 and 20 again, which was still unimpressive. He then made his test debut just after scoring a total of 20 in 2 innings. His next 3 ODI scores of 0, 67 and 48 did little to save him from the chopping block, as he was cut from the team for a year and a half. Hayden was back in the team for the Boxing Day test against the West Indies in 1997, but registered just a 5 and a duck. The next test, however, he would finally score a century and Hayden hoped he could build off that. But more failures were to follow instead, with scores of 0, 47, 40, 0, 14, 10 and 0 again. He would be dropped again, but this time for nearly 3 years. Hayden could be forgiven for thinking his Australia dream was over, but he didn't give up, and continued grinding runs for Queensland. He was selected for the New Zealand tour in 2000 and still didn't perform well. But the next tour of India in 2001 would change everything. He scored 549 runs in just 3 tests, and then cemented his place in both formats. His test average stands at 50, and combined with white ball formats, has over 15,000 runs. Number 3. Sanath Jayasuriya. The cause of Sanath Jayasuriya's early career struggles were simple to identify. He batted at the wrong position. When Jayasuriya made his debut at the end of 1989, he was picked to be a lower order all-rounder, even though he didn't bowl in any of his first 5 games. His first 15 ODIs, he failed to register a score above 31, averaging just 9. His test career, surprisingly enough, started better, making 250-plus scores in his first 6 tests. He batted at number 5 all the way to as low as number 8 in ODIs, and his scores would not improve much until the Hero Cup in 1993 in India. 2 games into the tournament, and then captain Arjuna Ranatunga made a bold decision to use Jayasuriya as an opener. The improvement wasn't immediately evident as he managed just one score above 30 in the next 13 games. But in 1994, Jayasuriya smacked 3 50s in a row against Pakistan, before then battering New Zealand to reach his first century at the end of the year. From then on, he would terrorize opening bowlers around the world, eventually winning the World Cup in 1996. Career highlights would follow, like his score of 189 in an ODI against India, as well as 340 in Test cricket. The batting average may not represent it, but Jayasuriya was a force of nature and earned his nickname as the Matara Mauler. Number 2. Chris Gayle. The universe boss wasn't always bossing universes. There was a time when he was just a human. This was when he was making his ODI debut in 1999. His first 7 ODI innings were very underwhelming, scoring 1, 15, 7, 6, 0, 7, and 22. Gayle's test record wasn't much better, scoring 33, 0, and 13 in 3 innings. He would score his first 50 against Zimbabwe in his 9th ODI in 2000. But this wouldn't lead to his form improving. He would end the year with a career average of 18 in 20 ODIs and 11 in 4 tests. Fortunately for Gayle, the selectors would persist with him, and he would improve these averages over the next few years. By the end of 2005, he averaged around 39 in both tests and ODIs. During this time, he registered a career high of 153 not out in ODIs and a mammoth 317 in Test cricket. The biggest change to his career would happen in 2008, however, when he would play his 3rd T20 international game. He scored 61 of 37 balls in a loss to England, but he showed that this was the format built for him. Then came the T20 World Cup in South Africa, where Gayle would smash his first ever T20 International 100 against the hosts. Gayle was cricket's new superstar and embraced the limelight. His international career would span 22 years, scoring nearly 20,000 runs and hitting 553 sixes. Now, no one remembers the time before the universe boss. Number 1. Marvin Atapattu. The inspiration for this video, Marvin Atapattu had a bad start to his international career. In fact, it was a terrible start to his career. His start was so bad that we're surprised he was given an opportunity to have even a modest international career afterwards. His test debut was in November 1990, where he scored an infamous pair. His ODI debut came a week later, scoring 8 not out, batting at number 8 bizarrely. This was followed by another duck in the next ODI, and we would not see him in the Sri Lankan team for another year. Upon his return to the one-day side, he scored 4, 19 not out, 5 not out, and then 3. He would then be dropped again for 6 months. When he returned again, it was another low score of 4 in an ODI. But he's back in the test team, so maybe things would go better for him in this format. Nope, he scored 0 and 1. Funnily enough, the 1 run he scored was actually a leg bye, wrongly attributed as a run by the umpire. So he really should have had another pair. Regardless, he was dropped for another year and a half, but surely in his next test call-up, he would have made the required adjustments. Wrong again. He scored yet another pair. No surprise as he was dropped again. Surely the selectors would have given up on him, you might be thinking. Apparently not, as nearly 2 years later, he's back in the team in 1997. Finally, he would start to register some modest scores, and eventually raise his average to above 30 in both formats by the end of the year. Then, in his first test of 1998, he would score his first double century. And finally, we would get to see what Atapattu was all about. He would follow this up with 5 more double centuries in his test career. Only 6 batters at the time of recording have more. He ended his career with 14,000 runs in international cricket, scoring 27 tons, and is the ultimate example of the benefit of selector patience. Thank you, Marvin, for inspiring us all. For if he can come through a start like that to end with the career he had, we can all believe anything is possible. So that's our list. Let us know if you have forgotten anyone that should be here in the comment section below. You can also follow us on Twitter at OffSpinCricket to engage with us. If you enjoyed the video, please leave us a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thanks for watching.